to moving on in this group if everything goes as expected. Okay, I've seen enough of FITE. Okay, let's get into pick and ban.
Wait, wasn't there? Yeah, we have a whole ad where he talks about giving up.
Listen, that was
it was only
time
for
ago.
Lint. It was for Lint anyway.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, things have changed. FINOK is a different man now, and he is back to dabbing. Apparently, is I guess where we are.
I can't blame him.
Dragons in that first pick position, and it's solo lane focus right away. Kakullen and Odin, and then Yamoja right after that.
This is where I learned how much I rely on God colors.
I know.
To know who it is.
It is big. This is it is difficult. And now Geb, I'll call him out all for you, Gormizer, just to be safe. Geb, the other band there for the Leviathans, and a Serket ban from the Jade Dragons, getting a little bit of double duty there with the support and jungle ban.
Yeah, something that's not. Again, not crazy surprising given who they're playing up against. It's something that we've seen very successful for them. Actually, more out of Wrong U, I think, than we've seen out of the jungle.
Yeah.
But and that doubles down with the Yamoja, right? Like, if you're trying to cripple Wrong U, I think those are two really good picks. The problem is it's still Wrong U, and he's still phenomenal. And so it is going to be difficult, I think, to try and strip away some of those. But that does make the duo lane a little easier to deal with. Then we can maybe try to shift and pivot something in the jungle, right? With only the Serket ban. Panatom likes it, but it hasn't been necessarily the go-to. I wouldn't be surprised if the Leviathans are still focused on that Camazotz they were playing the other day. It was just a huge pick between them and the Kings. And it just looked really good. Panatom, like, the whole team looked good, but Panatom had some nuts games on that. And it seems like it might be an easy pickup for him.
One ban remaining here for the Leviathans. We will see what they decide to go for. It's been a lot of frontline focus from both of these teams, a lot of Guardians off the board. We've seen, Tiamat not be prioritized as much, so don't expect a ban there. RDO is up there.
Oh, wow.
And it is the Soul, taking that away from Herwind.
I'm going to be honest. Would not have expected that. If I'm looking at a lot of the other mid laners, like, it is, so by and far, Herwin's most played god. I think by 6 games above every other mid laner he's played this year, Soul is the one they typically go back to. But it does leave things open. I mean, the Morrigan has been a huge ban the last few days. Yep. A lot of these teams have been prioritizing taking her away. And Hurry doesn't necessarily instill the Morrigan fear in me, but it is something that I think you have to be aware of, especially given what we've seen in the frontline meta. It's dangerous to have her on board.
Well, you've got a Terra already there for PBM. Terra seems to be really rising in the ranks. The Warriors yesterday were prioritizing it over Geb, even, so you know that people are starting to feel like that god's really good. As Hell and RDO getting a lot of sustain right off the bat for the Leviathans.
This is dangerous territory. I will say, I mentioned Merlin earlier. I don't think he's necessarily great, but if I'm looking at a comp like this, like, my mind starts factoring, what can I pick? Like, if I'm looking for a solo lane, Cerberus comes to my mind. If I'm looking for a mid laner that can do Divine Ruin, I'm starting to think of Merlin and maybe a few other ability-based gods that are going to be able to compete. I'm already trying to formulate, what can we do to make their healing hurt? Or what can we do to match that, right? Like, it is going to bring in, I mean, at this point with Yamoja gone, you're starting to get a little more limited, but like things, even like a Horus, right? Where all of a sudden you're just going to have something to try and match it. It's not going to be the easiest, and this Hell was formidable the other day, and they not picked it, but bottom 2'd it, at least in the first game. They don't have the Cthulhu, they don't have necessarily the same like huge pillars, but RDO already is just such a devastating combo to have next to it. The team fights for the Leviathans, 22 minutes plus, are going to be very smooth.
Well, this is exactly what the Dragons did against the Valkyries. Pick Terra early, and then pick Gilgamesh early, because Gilgamesh ult and Terra ult just feel really good together. And it is a Guardian to go into the solo lane, but it's not Cerberus, it's Sobek instead.
And you know what? I like this. 50% anti-heal, you get yourself something already on board, plus one thing that Hell is lacking. Soul lacks this too, but she's out of the conversation. Doesn't have a good disengage. If you get plucked, you're pulled back. Unless you cleanse yourself at like the perfect time, you are going to get grabbed here. So it's either beads, cleanse, or something better for the Dragons. So it opens up a lot of avenues to try and get free kills on Shinto on a regular cooldown as well. So it's going to make things a little easier. It just depends on the follow-up. And I think they still have a lot of wiggle room because mid lane, again, Herwind has 3 or 4 gods that they go to. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a Giannis ban that comes in, but like, you're not hurting too badly right now. I like what the Dragons have been able to do just in terms of keeping things vague.
They've got a lot going for them, as it's a Morrigan ban and then a Charybdis ban here by the Dragons, taking that away from Zapman as Charybdis continues to rise in prioritization. She is the only hunter on the board currently. Neither picked nor banned, or neither picked for either hunter. but this time around banned by the Jade Dragons. And you called it there, Uller. We got a Giannis ban taking that away from Hurry.
Yeah, that one just makes sense, right?
Yep.
If I'm thinking, man, Herwin still has gods to be picked, I am worried about him picking up and playing Giannis, even if it's not in meta. In fact, go back to last year, not in meta, on the technically worst team in the league, still able to find as much, or I guess second to worst team in the league last year, still able to find wins just because of this Giannis play. And so it's something you have to be worried about. He's 10-2 on that. He's only lost 2 games. And so you have to control him in any avenue you get.
Hachima the pick now for Zatman. Uller still on the board, but not locked in by the Leviathans Hunter. Could be the option for PandaCat on the side of the Jade Dragons, but waiting to see what they're going to lock in for their backline. And this Oleron pick continues to be valued. It has been top 3'd by a lot of teams, top picked overall.
Sylvanas, Oleron, like a lot of these picks that it was like Sylvanas maybe the last couple of weeks, but Oleron definitely the last couple of days. Widely popular, and yet I still forgot about him.
Yep. He still has that capability of turning the fight with that ultimate, and that ultimate pretty good up against RDO and Erlang Shen.
And the good news about it is, and this Hu Yi hover kind of makes me think it's probably a heroine pick just because it's something like, I mean, both of these gods can technically flip to do whichever. Hu Yi's not as good a hunter in mid as maybe some of the others could do, but Oleron is going to be solid. He's going to be in these fights. He's going to be in the mid 3v3. Sanctified Fields, while I don't necessarily immediately think of, hey, he's good against anti-heal, he's definitely good at slowing hell down and dealing with her early.
Definitely can do that, as it's Xing Chen locked in for Rongyu. This is not a god we see very often. Only 4 games played.
For in-game between these two top-seeded teams over in Group A, Mifflin, and what a brawl this is. The Jade Dragons have already gotten business taken care of up against the Valhalla Valkyries, and a win here against the Leviathans would all but seal a top seed moving into the Phase 3 playoffs.
Both of these teams have already taken one, so I think you're right to say that this one has a lot of stakes on the line. Some of the hardest players, or teams rather, in this group contending with one another. But the desk brings up some fair concerns for the late game of the Jade Dragons. Sure, you've got some late game ticking time bombs. Hurry win on this Oleron with Sanctified Field. You've got Terra that's going to completely run team fights come late as well. But the Leviathans have accrued themselves a incredibly annoying composition between all of their healing. Yarkor, great backline disruption as well as in-combat healing. And if you're out of combat, the healing job falls to Shinto, and I don't think he can do much better than a Hell.
And something I asked Hurrywind in the pregame interview going into this matchup, do you feel like the mid lane is kind of open right now? Do you need to be prepared for the traditional mages, secure mages, magical hunters, regular hunters? And he said, yeah, I mean, it feels like it's been similar to that all year long. And I'll hold that thought. As Polar Bear Mike ganked by Panatom, he will dash away with the pin there on the other end. And not much damage finds its way into Mike. If anything, PandaCat found more returning onto Panatom. Shinto jumped on by Sanford Soccer. But the Tier 1 tower brings itself some safety for the Leviathans mid laner. So we're already seeing some activity out of Panatom, already some activity out of Sanford Soccer, and that's what you want to see with these two picks.
Generally, Erlang Shen I would count amongst that play style. You kind of need to get involved early on. Gilgamesh does have decent scaling in this game, as does Erlang Shen, considering, as Aggro highlighted, Gilgamesh plus Terra is just free Earthern Fury every single time. Great space control. Panatom, though, I think going down that Bumbosphere path does a lot.
Shinto had his bead burnt a moment ago, and in return, Sanford Soccer comes back to the mid lane. It's first blood to the Jade Dragons, and Shinto now in the course of a couple of minutes has been sat on by Sanford Soccer.
So Shinto in some serious trouble for just about the rest of this game, I suppose. Already falling behind an Oleron in the early game when you've got an aggressive jungler to back him up. Shinto's going to have a target on his back for at least another 100 seconds while he waits for those beads.
Polar Bear Mike invading into the purple buff, drops it down, but is he going to pay for it with his life? Rongyu and Zatman sure would like to. The body block at the end of it, and Mike steals the purple. But the Leviathans steal his life, and so we are tied up in the kill department. We have seen a little bit of this.
Is this allowed?
So far this weekend. Speed buff invades early in the game. Drop kick from Sanford Soccer against Panatom. And Panatom was able to steal that away as well. We have speed buffs being taken, purple buffs being taken, and these two teams are at each other's
side of the map. To Sanford Soccer's speed buff, so he passes up a lot of his own farm. Desyncing his own jungle, though, when you're going for invades, feels pretty good. Now Sanford Soccer, kind of off the beaten path, has to work hard.
This is an immediate 1v1, but it's about to be a 2v1. Can PandaCat get the kill before Rongyu is here? Yes, he can. 1v1 to PandaCat, and he might win this trade as well. And the aggressive play pays off in the duo lane. Panic Hat gets himself a solo over Zapman. And we'll find a little damage on Narangu at the end of it.
I wonder if maybe PBM just decides, I'll leave lane, Panic Hat takes the 5 first, takes that 1v1, and it works out exactly like that. PBM has sacrificed a good deal of his own farm, though, just now ticking over to 4. They're just stuck. There's no way for them to deal with it, barring a beads or maybe a cleanse from Shinto. So the Leviathans got to play heads up in the team fight. That means, though, Hurrywin has some key targets that he can look towards. Maybe not idyllic to try and solo Yarkor in a team fight, to dedicate your ultimate to that, but it's a decent target for him.
Panatom is invading the jungle here, but there are 3 members of the Dragons awaiting in the wings. It's a 3-man, 9 turns blessing, and the heal pops through, but there is not a lot of healing. Sanford Soccer able to capitalize on that kill, but Panatom, has he done enough? Yes, he has, at least for Rongyu to return a kill. It's a 1-for-1 trade on the invade, but that's a good block from Fino.
Rongyu still hovering around. Hurrywin holds onto the Sanctified field, realizing Rongyu still had that leap available, and that should spell the end of this engagement. Aggression from the Leviathans continually on the Jade Dragons side of the map. Style of gameplay for the Leviathans. Here it's, Panatom, what do you want to do? We're here for you.
So the Jade Dragons able to answer Panatom's early aggression in this game. Panatom has already stolen away a speed buff. Shinto able to cleanse himself. So holds on to the beads here. It looks like Hurrywin will go into the Stone of Thal next. It's been a popular item amongst the magical hunters we've seen so far this weekend. And so, no surprise there. Can Panic Hat do it again? That's the question. Puts the mark onto Zapman here, but this time Panatom and Rongyu closing the gap would be far from a 1v1 for Panda Cat. Does he realize it, though, is the next question. Not quick enough. If he did, ultimate down, the leap is down as well. Rongyu has his ultimate, but he's got the root, and he will hold on to the ult. 3 versus 1 on left, but Mike dashes on through. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will counter out the stun. And Mike walks in for the re-engage, but it's a clean kill and out for the Leviathans on left. Slow by Rongyu, but looks like Crusher into, I think Aussie has been the popular next item after the Crusher there. Maybe that's what Zapman ends up going for. We'll be able to check in a little bit later. But early in this game, if both teams, and specifically both junglers, I think the important topic, have shown that they want to fight, then Hurrywin is the next one. That's learning that the hard way. You've used your beads, you've used your ult, but what does it matter when the kill has already come out? It's Shinto who grabs it. Now Sanford Soccer wins of Shamash, re-engages. Panatom slowed down, K over from the solo lane, and yet again, we have a kill get traded out. The first to the Leviathans, the answer to the Dragons.
Almost a major misplay from Hurrywin, dedicating all of his long CDs, Relic and Ultimate, at the tail end of his life, but holds them in place just long enough for Sanford Soccer to rotate his way. Jade Dragons going to kill him right here. Maybe force off some of those defensive Relics, maybe force out that Ultimate and try and rotate back in a little bit later. But the Leviathans, maybe realizing this rotation on the left-hand side, say, all right, Pyromancer's open, let's go.
Mike is close by. And it's slowly burning. Mike dashes through. Pyromancer reset. Mike body blocking. The Leviathans steal it. Or take it, rather. Mike tried to steal it. And that was close. A bit of a coin flip by the end of it, but the Leviathans have weighted that coin for themselves, and they will get the first neutral objective of the game. And the nice gold spike that comes with.
Good attempt from PBM. It seemed like the Leviathans were willing to fully reset, but PBM holds onto the aggro, and the Leviathans strip that one away as Rongyu goes in hard.
Hurrywin does not have beads for 20 seconds. He is tossed and taunted right on the back end of the fight. Sanctified Field will separate us out. Look, Rongyu and Shinto, they're running the opposite way of their jungler, and that is a free kill over to the Jade Dragons, except for the ultimates that you had to spend. And that was Panatom, again, staying active, looking for a kill on the end of Rongyu's engage. And the Jade Dragons are able to answer.
It felt like Rongyu just went in a little bit too early. That was a dedicated call from the Leviathans to take that. It's a god name.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing about we can't have god names in team names in competitive Smite, and we also can't have player names in team names. We gotta stay consistent. We can't have caster names be god names.
You can call me Colin as long as there's not one in game. We are fighting in the mid lane. Jump in from Sanford Soccer. Shinto will use both actives. The drop kick timed out perfectly, but Shinto will live just a little bit longer than the Jade Dragons had hoped for. So the re-engage is here from the Leviathan. Sanctified Field separates out the fight, but Panatom finds the autos onto Sanford Soccer. This is massive from Panda Cat. It's a disengage now from the Leviathans as the ultimate. The Suns, the Ice Shards, they rain through.
See ya.
Big block from Fine OK, and Zapman his death makes a difference.
Those large AoE ultimates from the Jade Dragons were massive. Sanctified Field gets full value. I'm pretty sure Rongyu played inside of it for the entirety of that cooldown, and then Panda Cat rotates in, finds a four-man Reigning Suns.
Oh, that feels good.
And the Jade Dragons still were only able to barely come out ahead in that engagement. Is that not wild how survivable the Leviathans were and fighting into those terrible odds? Still nearly match up in damage output, 9,000 to the 10,000 of the Jade Dragons. With those thin margins, that small win in the mid lane not only took out a tier 1 mid tower, but also the Gold Fury. Leviathans, though, they're not going to let it go down for free. Pyromancer seems to be the answer.
The Gold Fury is the difference maker in the gold right now. Poor man Mike has been a nuisance around the Pyro so far. He's forcing a delay out of the Leviathans. Yeah, it'd be hard pressed to find a world where Mike steals it, but at least makes the Leviathans think twice. So it was a 1,000 or so gold lead for the Leviathans a little bit ago. Fight, 1 kill difference, plus Gold Fury now gets the Jade Dragons about 1,000 gold in the lead of the Leviathans. Still Myth balancing on a knife edge.
Dave, I just got to gush over the small mechanical play we just saw from the Leviathans. The reset from Rongyu to Panatom to crush the clap from Terra, so cool to utilize Pyromancer that way. But maybe even cooler is how quickly this Fire Giant is burning.
It's going quickly. Hardcore is close.
Leviathans!
Oh my god, they steal it away from under the nose of the Jade Dragons. Looks like Rongyu's the one who's got it done in the roar.
That can't happen.
Steals it. That is unbelievable. With everything the Jade Dragons have, the Leviathans walk in. Rongyu walks in and steals away the Fire
Considering
Giant.
how valuable the ultimates are from the Jade Dragons, it's going to be hard pressed to put up a defense there.
I mean,
that can't happen, bro.
Blink 1. Yeah, baby, that's the only secure you need. Blink 1 from a Xing Chen. I'll take that to go, please. Say the Atlantis Leviathans, and suddenly this game is flipped around yet again. Everything, trades, fights, objectives, neutral objectives, steals. It's all been so close in game 1 between the Dragons and the Leviathans, but the Dragons,
good fight.
They want to fight. Save for Soccer jumps in.
Nice shot
from range, using some of that ability damage to put down Panatom. One of those FG buffs is now stripped away. Keep your eyes on Sanctified Field. Still maybe the biggest ultimate on the map.
It is, and it's still available. PBM goes in, but too far, loses his life.
He goes in and he dies. He's watching in black and white as the rest of the Jade Dragons walk forward. Panda Cat gets the job done on the back end of the fight. Hurrywood getting it done on the front. And now it's a 3 versus 1 against Hardcore, but Hardcore's got to double. This Artio, obnoxious, and he is dealing the damage to the Jade Dragons, the healing enough to walk him away from the tier 2 tower. Hurrywind just waiting for those cooldowns, and Hurrywind will put Hardcore down once more. Jade Dragons find a big fight.
The Leviathans overconfident in their ability to push into that tier 2 tower. It was a 4 versus 5 for the Leviathans because Hardcore was hovering on the right-hand side of the map, and this Artio is one of your best disruption tools to stop the artillery strike that is a Ho Yi and an Oleron. That hubris not only cost them their Fire Giant push, but also their Phoenix. The Jade Dragons, without the Fire Giant, essentially make the exact same play, stripping away all these towers and a bird.
Confirm the tier 2 in mid.
Seems to be a fundamental disagreement on the pace of this game. The Leviathans think they're in a position to keep pushing, and the Jade Dragons tend to think the same of themselves, and they've got an exposed Phoenix for a good while here.
Fino and Zapman are dueling it out in the mid lane. If Fino can stop the back, it'll be a Hunter advantage here on the left side. That said, Fino K, I'm not sure you win this fight against Zapman. Are you going to turn back and stop it again? Are you just going to be annoying? Hurrywind, Sanctified Field down, Save for Soccer, blinks forward, Winds of Shamash separates things out as well. And that's a good magnifying glass myth at the no play zones that the Jade Dragons have. You channel those two ultimates together, and it is difficult. That's a nice drop kick from Sanford Soccer, and there's some damage from Hurrywind to repel Hardcore on his engagement into the front of the fight.
And we saw the Jade Dragons, once they realized Sanctified Field wasn't massive there, they weren't able to utilize it fully, they say, okay, maybe we just don't fight now. But given that scenario, Leviathans can push into the Primal.
What is Fino K looking for? He blinked in, tail whipped. It's an Earthen Fury down from Mike, and that'll find some value for the Jade Dragons as the Leviathans repelled from the Fury. But poor Mike, he's stuck around. He's low. Shinto, he's got the last bit of damage on the front of this fight. And look at the surge forward. Leviathans as 5 walking in, and they will get 2 at least from the Jade Dragons, but there's big damage from Panda Cat around the corner. The crits ringing out have melted the health bars of these frontliners. Save for Soccer will find some auto attacks. Double kill from Rongyu.
like.
But it looks like Hurrywin's got one as well on the back end of this fight, and it's going to be Panda Cat who's got to go big.
Yarkor with less than 200 HP says, I don't need it, I'm going in anyway, and he gets the kill on a Sam for Soccer. Panda Cat now the only dragon still standing, and not much that he can do. So surprised to see the Jade Dragons, having already used Winds of Shamash and Sanctified Field on a botched engagement, decide to show up and fight over a Primal Fury 27 minutes into this game. You've already got overwhelming map state advantage having stripped away the mid-Phoenix. Fire Giant was spawning so shortly that this engagement really was unnecessary, and the Leviathans, when they see unnecessary plays, they punish them. And now they've got so much advantage going into the fire. 20 seconds left on Sam, 10 seconds on Hurry. Fine's not even respawned yet. This fire's going to go fast.
Fire Giant is melting. Not as quick as the Leviathans would like. There's plenty of time for Mike and Panda Cat to get into range. We've already seen one steal this game. Will we see another? Panda does not have his ultimate yet. You gotta look at that cooldown. That might be the secure here for the Jade Dragons. Still does not have it. And the Leviathans will take down the fire relatively easily, and they will get Polar Bear Mike as a to-go order here as well. Lurking in the water is fine, okay? And out he will lurk from the FG pit. This one much cleaner for the Leviathans.
But now Sanctified Field is the reason you drafted Olorun. It's not for the auto attacks, it's not for the sustain. It generally is just how strong that ultimate is in a team fight, and the Jade Dragons, when they use it well, they win the team fight.
We are 30 minutes into game one between the Dragons and the Leviathans, live in studio on Halloween Sunday. Could this be the final push that ends the game? We have got a lot of action to go between these two teams, especially if this best-of-5 set carries on as game one has. Here's Rongyu. He's found the back line. He's found Hurrywin, but there's good peel out on the front line from Final K. Rongyu left alone, and some damage finds its way in. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel gets nothing. As Hardcore will walk away, the cleanse from Shinto saved his life there. Pin onto Final K. Poking and prodding happening, Myth, but no big pick.
Sam for Soccer hovering around the side, just waiting for PBM to find an Earthern Fury. That Terra ult is going to be the go button. Then, if the Jade Dragons are able to force a disengage, it opens up the door for a massive Sanctified Field.
Pin onto Panda Cat, but look at the frontline engage from the Jade Dragons, and it's an immediate disengage from the Atlantis Leviathans. That is a low commit moment. Zapman uses his ult, Panda Cat uses his, Final Case is down as well, but you still got the big ones for the Jade Dragons.
It's Winds of Shamash and Sanctified Field. That's all they've got left in the tank, but this Phoenix stays standing. It's burned down. Now just about 40% HP. The Leviathans have been working slowly, and that slow pace may cost them. Only 30 seconds left on fire.
Uh-oh, Hurrywin. Sanctified Field is down, and it is on Hardcore and Hardcore alone. The rest of the Leviathans able to get back. And again, the Dragons layer these two massive ultimates and don't find the maximum value out of it. That said, if your objective is to burn time, you've done that. Half HP still on your Phoenix, 10 seconds remaining on this FG buff. One final look at a push here for the Atlantis Leviathans with their Fire Giant buff, should they look for it. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel is back up. Fire Giant wears off, and the Leviathans will wear off the base of the Dragons as well. Dragons stand strong. They don't lose much, except for a couple towers. All three Phoenixes alive after the FG of the Leviathans.
That was
a little bit. And so maybe in the jungle, the Dragons are able to find more effectiveness. That said, you're grouped up, maybe a cleanse from Shinto is able to hit its value a little bit stronger as well. Look out for a pluck from Final K. It's really been both Final K walking forward, whether it's a blink or a dash in. Of course, you want to use it to pluck. On the other side, it's been Rongyu who's blinked in, looked for Whirlwinds of Rages. Whirlwinds of Rage and Steels. Zapman is not here. He's not in this fight. Zapman is on this red buff. Do the Jade Dragons realize it, though? Zapman is going to rotate in behind this engagement, or will he? He pivots over to the left, and all the Leviathans are doing is delaying this out. Zapman strolling through the jungle. He's going to his own red buff, the Scorpion, something like that. He will rotate the other direction around behind his own team here. And it does not pay off one way or another. Zapman will rejoin the rest of his team, but the Fire Giant is taken down beneath half HP. 420 crits on the Fire Giant. That's enough to give the Jade Dragons the enhanced Fire Giant. But the Leviathans have found the re-engage. Lots of roots on the back end here. but can the
Mike has to
Leviathans
lead.
get the damage on in? Hardcore taken down by Sam for Soccer. Hurrywin falls in trade. Sam is stunned. Sam is jumping. Sam lives on. Rongyu's got something else in mind, and Zapman, he joins the fight late, but it's right on time according to his clock. Double kill for the Hunter.
Zatman takes the scenic route, but makes it look good, 2, and
Give him
maybe
3,
3.
baby.
Fine, okay, does fall, but Cheeto takes this one. 4 members of the Leviathan still standing, but PBM and Panda Cat, the duo lane of the Jade Dragons, might be able to keep this game alive.
They have the enhanced fire giant, the Jade Dragons. They've got it around their waist. The Leviathan's not playing with it. Mike does not have his ult. Panda Cat does not either. This is going to be telling. What do the Leviathans do after this Phoenix? Walk forward is the answer. You've got 3 members dead on the Jade Dragons. Panda Cat has been doing serious damage numbers as this game has gone on. Mike, no, you can't die here,
Missed
my
his
friend.
dash.
You need to stay alive to give your team a chance, but Zapman says no thank you. He wags his finger in Mike's face. And now Panda Cat's going to have to make the play of his career to keep game number 1 on the line, and he has put in the dirt the Leviathans in 37 minutes. Take game 1.
Wrong you, I feel like, changed the entire course of this game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the early game that is going incredibly well for the Dragons and looks really solid for them. In fact, you even get a good solo kill from Panda Cat. Really helps things out. Zapman had 2 kills, so his farm ultimately ended up being slightly ahead, but they were even for the most part, and it comes down to that Fire Giant steal, but also I think a dichotomy of things, right? You get a good Fire Giant steal, which admittedly is going to set you up for success no matter what, but then you're also looking at a team that has healing and sustain versus a team that has really long cooldowns on the things they need to win, and once that Sanctified Fields is used in a lot of these fights, or if it was down, that opened up a much easier avenue for the Leviathans. If they could either wait it out or outright ignore it for the first portion of the fight, then they had a lot more wiggle room to work with. And despite the fact that they were, even losing that last EFG, I think it showcases how well this team was coordinated for their team fights, as well as the kind of lead they were able to jump into to make sure that they could control that kind of game despite the early deficit the Dragons had put them in.
Man, what a fun game this was to watch. I mean, so back and forth. The Dragons, had that good early game, but the Leviathans bounce back, and then the Dragons win a fight, and then they go to fire, but then it gets stolen, and it was all over the place, but an absolute blast to watch. This Ho Yi pick continues to get wins robbed away from it. But Zapman topping the damage charts in that one, 36K for him.
There was a certain point where I was like, I'm going to be able to go out there to the desk, and I'm going to be able to say, Hoagie decision making. So this is, where all of the Dragons, but also Kabam comes in very handy because they're going to have to figure out how to tackle those things.
It's Yamoja in the first ban position. Remember, the Jade Dragons did ban Yamoja, Cthulhu, Serket, game number 1. And then the Leviathan side, it was Odin, Geb, and Soul.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of changes so far, though Yamoja was second banned. It was Cthulhu, then Yamoja, and sometimes that does actually end up factoring in, but no, they've just swapped the order.
And sometimes it's just, which one did we think of first, and where am I on the screen? I don't want to scroll back up for Cthulhu. I do like these bans, though. Like, all of them, Odin specifically has been one that when he gets through is just such a pain to deal with. The anti-heal, the cage, the damage he can do. I mean, we even saw it successfully run in the jungle the other day, despite the fact that Odin Jungle has kind of been booty cheeks for most of the year. It has not really stood out. The Titans were still able to make that one work and look really good. I give a lot of credit of that to Layers, just because he had a nut set the other day. But I think that this is something that is so far all par for the course. It was the Soul and the Serket that were the ones that were kind of veering off the beaten path of meta. Either of those are easy to replace with something like the Artio or the Terra, but then you're still letting those through. And so you have to weigh, specifically here, is it worth dealing with the Serket for the Leviathans? And if I'm the Dragons, I think so.
It might be, and Dragons thinking about how they want to go in this last ban position. Took a little bit of time in this exact spot in Game 1 as well, so clearly this is a ban that they've had to discuss each time. I think that Artio would be a good fit,
wow.
but the Hell as well makes a lot of sense. That's a god that
Yeah.
no other mid laner is filling the role that Hell would fill for them. And the Leviathans also changing it up. They take away the Terra.
And this is an interesting change-up, only because it feels like they think they could handle the Soul. Like, again, Soul is Heroine's most played god. That was not expected, once again, just as much as the Soul ban, maybe even more than the ban. Artio's still available, and someone that is very potent. There's still, I mean, Tiamat has to be brought into the discussion just because she exists and is still not an awful pickup. I'm surprised to see, not surprised to see the Terra ban. I think taking away some of the support and the healing from both of these teams is going to be a big win, but that's a lot of pressure for Herwin to make the Soul look good.
I agree. RDO is locked in immediately by the Leviathans, but now they hover the Sylvanas and lock it. So they have their front line set. It is 2 healing-centric Guardians, maybe not outright healers, at least in RDO's case, but 2 gods that require anti-heal built on the other side.
Yeah, and you're going to, again, even a little bit of sustain is a lot. Soul's going to have some self-sustain. That's going to be helpful in a lot of these fights, but in the middle of what you're looking at, especially late game, that's where the Sylvanas comes in handy, maybe more so than anything. You know, RDO, we've seen what her team fight can do, the cripple fields, the roots, the small amounts of heals, the stuns that she can bring. Controlling any sort of zone as a solo laner is made infinitely easier when you have RDO's kit, because it kind of does all the work for you. It has all of the CC that you could possibly need to help control, specifically backliners. But then you look at Sylvanas, and it opens up this wild conversation, not just in the healing, but just in cooldowns in general. Late game, Sylvanas, you're throwing out pulls like it's nothing, roots like it's nothing, your ult comes up just a little bit quicker, things like that. And so I think that this is a really good start for a team fight for the Leviathans.
Yeah, I think so too. But on the other side, the Jade Dragons that go back to the Sobek could be for Mike this time around, but I think it's fair to assume that it'll be for Final K over there in solo. And Charybdis, the first hunter off the board. Some undivable backline now between the Soul and the Charybdis. Ullr still available, Set still available, a lot of gods that have dominated that duo lane, but Charybdis the first one off the board.
And honestly, it feels like it's the dichotomy. First off, we saw her performing lights out yesterday, and the damage that she can do and the control that she can have in the middle of a team fight is great. But her survivability is insane as well. So you get kind of the best of both worlds right now. Good damage, good survivability. Very similar to a pick, say, like a Camazotz on the other side. Something that has treated Panatom really well. And I look at Charybdis with Soul. Both of those are very survivable backliners. You've got Sobek, which is either good setup or good peel. But I look at RDO, Sylvanas, and Camazotz, and I just say good luck killing them. I don't know where you're going to start. You have to burst them. And then hope for the best.
And then hope for the best is really your only option. A couple of junglers banned by the Leviathans, and Serket and a Willix, at least saying jungler for Serket, but could always flex. And then a couple hunters taken out by the Dragons in Izanami and Hachiman. And looks like you're going to be in this one. Ullr now locked in for the Leviathans.
When we were walking over here, Zap did tap me on the shoulder and said, "Nice costume." So
yeah,
I think that goes hand in hand. This is inspired entirely by me.
Yeah, and hopefully he's using your skin as well.
He's gonna load in like the tier 5. It's probably a banned skin anyway. He's gonna load in. They're gonna have to remake. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Whoa! It's Hades locked in by the Dragons. We saw this from Solo Retrol yesterday. We thought it might just be a little Scarabs exclusive spice, but it's locked in here for the Jade Dragons. Now, they did play a meme set where Mike played Hades support. That did happen.
You know what?
And Final K did play Sobek last game.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that's the way it's going to go, though. But
now that you've put it into the world,
it has to be Hades
It feels
solo.
like that energy fits the way the Dragons play. But yeah, no, it has to be solo.
There will be a fun journey to be had nonetheless here in Game 2 between the Dragons and the Leviathans, especially when you get the type of composition that the Jade Dragons have built. And it is Mike on Hades support, and not Mike on Sobek support. And of course, that means Final K will be playing Sobek out of the solo lane. Fun, I think, is automatic just because of this draft.
Yeah, so I guess we have to evaluate what the dual lane of the Jade Dragons should look like, right? Charybdis is generally a god that is going to be lacking in pressure. If she wants to hit the entire wave with her ability, she has to get up point blank, and you don't necessarily want to do that against a Sylvanas who can displace you easily. So how do you make up for that? Well, Hades has got just about infinite pressure. By the time he takes over to level 3...
It's got a lot of weight to carry here. If you're going to give Shinto this pick instead of Zapman, you need to see good things. I don't have much confidence fall off, though, in Shinto's ability to play this pick. When it comes to hitting abilities, hitting skill shots, rotating through abilities, I think Shinto has a real good shot at doing so, but he's already used his jump in, misses his axe, pulled in by Sanford Soccer, and there's plenty of damage on the Panatom, but not enough. And the sustain keeps the Camazotz alive under the tier 1 tower, and that is risky. Shinto jumps in, misses the axe, and is still able to walk out alive.
I like the call from Shinto to jump in, though. If he lands the axe, Hurrywin takes 80% of his HP because no beads available to this soul. Goes for the Aegis in that slot. So no CC immunity. I mean, you can't use that Aegis while you're CC'd. Maybe just relying on the sap rate for that safety.
More axe flies by Shinto. and then heads on back. A little pump fake on me there. I thought Panatom might go back to the solo lane here, but instead, looking like he's going to farm up this Scorpion and look elsewhere. And it's rotation time, Myth, for these supports. And I think now we'll get to see what kind of impact PBM is going to have on this game.
PBM's got a pretty simple engage. He wants to jump in and then presses 4. And if that works...
Is it that easy?
Yeah, it's that easy.
So I should play Hades support.
No. Okay, maybe it's not that easy. We'll see. Here we
We'll
go.
see. Maybe he's got a chance to do so here. That's a nice pull from Wrong And a lot of damage onto Hurdywind, a lot of damage onto Mike as well. Shinto sent his axe Mike's way as Hurdywind has already disapparated around the back. Panatom half HP,
Watch
no
him.
mana. This is a 2 versus 1 as Sanford Soccer's around the right. Speed buff's going to get secured by Panatom here. Has Sanford Soccer done too much? He teleports out, but Shinto has hit his abilities. Typhoon hits all 3, but Wrongyu's rotating to right as well. There is no rest
Good
for the
peel.
weary. Fantastic block from Fino-K, and Sanford Soccer will get out alive unless Hardcore makes something crazy happen. He will not, and the peel from Fino seals the deal. Both teams apparently content with getting some farm under their belts. Little power spike for Sam here. He gets the Crusher. Jotun's completed for Panatom. And it's really around these supports where maybe we start to see some action. Mike hanging out in mid lane. Has Blink on Hades. And you're going to want to use that aggressively and set up for your team.
He's also gone for a slightly aggressive build, some power build early on. We'll see if it pans out.
Can he even get the ult off? No, there is so much damage from the Leviathans. And first blood, 7.5 minutes in, is on to Polar Bear Mike. Oh, what a dodge from Shinto. He'll jump out of range of the ultimate from Panda Cat, and the Charybdis comes up empty-handed. The Jade Dragons empty-handed. The Leviathans, they will swing, they will connect with the jaw of Polar Bear Mike for first blood. Because if I walk around the red buff, I can see somebody there. If there's a giant ring of mist around the red buff, I don't know if somebody's in that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's awful. Gold Fury gets pulled out here, and it is the Jade Dragons
Hey,
being the
design
aggressor.
team, hit up my DMs, design team. I got some
40%.
great ideas for you. Gold Fury low. Sanford Soccer with the Typhoon will secure. The Gold Fury Sanctified Field is down as well from Zapman, but Panda Cat is low. He's gotta get down, gotta get out of this fight. Panatom will do his best to chase him down, but Polar Bear Mike has been left alone. He's already used his ultimate, he's used his escape, and he's used up the last of his life. The Leviathans, they lose the Gold Fury, but they will get a kill on the Mike for the second time in the game.
The team has shown presence around the Pyromancer as of now. Some significant power spikes have been hit from both sides. Serrated Edge finished up by Panatom, so he's dealing a massive amount of damage. Shinto's build is rounding out nicely as well. Crusher and Jotun's matched up with Transcendence. He's essentially a mage. Take a peek at that damage. That's 20% off of Panda Cat. Immediately healed up, though,
Yeah, Mike.
thanks to that Devourer's Gauntlet's Death Toll. So glad we saw it on the initial hit. Both teams now grouped up. It's 2 minutes early. No shot. We're taking a team fight over the Pyromancer, right? It's not 21.
Fino-K gets a 4-man tail whip, and then Mike dashes in. It's immediate re-engage. Zapman throws out the Sanctified Field and walked out of Panda Cat and the CC Immune ultimate. 3 minutes done. Oh, it's huge from the Charybdis, but there's nobody there to follow up. Sanford
There it
Soccer
is.
finds his way into the back line. And the rain of hellfire from Hurdywind will pick up the first kill for the Dragons. Immediately traded out, though, as Sanford Soccer falls in the back. A double kill for Panatom. Hardcore has got one as well. All the CC in the world can't keep you alive, and the Leviathans run away with the fight. And they might have a real good look at FG.
Fine, okay, the only one still standing and no ultimate available means there's no way he works his way into the Fire Giant, but we've seen crazier steals literally in
Yeah,
game one.
be careful, Miff.
Ferocious Roar was able to do it, so I should hedge my bets. Shinto's
No.
going to do the exact same thing by rotating out and making sure that nobody is able to step up to the Fire Giant proper. Wrong spawns in 2 seconds and will benefit from the Fire Giant buff. The Atlantis Leviathans 6-1, 20 minutes into this one at the rest of this game.
Here's a look back at the fight, Mifflin. Panda Cat had to use the defensive utility pretty
What a
early on
shot.
in this fight. And that's a good look from Panatom. And this shows you right. So the Camazotz lacks hard CC, but has the ability to do this, which is stick to backliners. And it was a great look at a fight for the Leviathans and Panatom specifically.
Man, all my homies hate Shinto. They stealing triple kills at the tail end.
And you know, 3-man stun with the
that's so
Charybdis
fast.
ultimate. You're able to at least get a little follow-up there. These towers made quick work of. Who's that? That's Fino-K over here on right with Hardcore and Panatom. Might be enough damage between the two. But it's a dash away from Fino-K. Tier 2 tower is gone. In mid, and left, and right. And you're going to have 3 exposed Phoenixes. This is
stop the
kind
back.
of overtime. This is garbage time on this Fire Giant buff. You got 30 seconds left, maybe a push or two on this right side Phoenix. If it goes well enough, you could end the game. You got one look at it here for the Leviathans. Jade Dragons, they've stood well under their Phoenixes so far this set. Maybe another chance to do so here. 15 seconds left on the buff.
Mike is incredibly tanky in the furthest forward, but we're already getting a good look at the damage output of Shinto. Just hail of arrows, drop him down.
Wave is in. Hardcore is in. Mike dashes into the back.
Tanky?
No amount of tankiness in the world will keep him alive there. Your support is gone. The defensive utility is gone from Panda Cat as well. Mid lane Phoenix, or right side Phoenix rather, see you later. Mid lane Phoenix, hey, how you doing? But the Leviathans, they will stick around despite there being no wave. In the left side Phoenix took a lot of damage there as well. This is no Fire Giant buff on the Leviathans, and they're going to get all 3 Phoenixes in the last 15 seconds of the FG buff.
Yeah, minion wave is very close by, but who needs it when you've got this kind of damage output? Double Hunter, it will do that for you. All 3 Phoenixes down now for the Jade Dragons, and you can see the energy on the Leviathan's faces. They are popping off. They smell blood in the water.
Since then has died twice more, like quickly. Hasn't been able to do anything. So maybe Hades doesn't have the same bounce back potential as a Ymir, which is a very specific comparison for me to be making. But needless to say, Mike has had a tough game on the Hades support here. Admire the creativity.
They stepped up.
Hasn't worked out so far. Mike blinks in again, but he's immediately sent
So
on back.
squishy.
Zapman sends an axe his way. Hardcore and Sanford Soccer dueling it out here on right. Talk about tanky, that's Hardcore.
Yeah.
Talk about not tanky, that's Final K, whose health bar is gone. The Leviathans, do you even need a Fire Giant? Do you even need to take a fight around the objective? Sanford Soccer gets the Typhoon, but it's a bat out of hell to save his life. Shinto has got a double. He stole a triple earlier on, and he might get one for himself here. Around the corner is Final K. Panda Cat down. Shinto a triple. Hurrywin left running. Leviathans, they smell game 3. They smell the 2-0 lead. And I imagine they'll get it. Shinto, Quad, give it to him, baby. The Ullr swinging 7:03 at the end of the game.
Mike's hiding in the back camps, won't give up the Penta, but will give up game 2. The Leviathans look dominant. You might have a good look at the late game of the Jade Dragons, but the Leviathans have been doing it for much, much longer.
Minions were going to get it done nonetheless.
Now, and overall, very excited about what we're going to be doing at the SMITE World Championship. We've got a stocked show for you, as we always do when it comes to the SWC, so make sure you check it out. This is going to be our schedule for the SMITE World Championship here in Season 8. We're starting off with the high-res showcase on Thursday, and then the SWC begins in earnest on Friday. But that doesn't mean you want to miss out on what we got going on Thursday. A Community Clash tournament, the Golden Boats nomination show, and then some great panels, cosplay contests, and, of course, High-Res Presents, and you get your very first look at the Slash map. You get your Season 9 update show. You got a lot of great stuff there coming for the High-Res Showcase, again, January 6th through the 9th, so make sure you get locked in.
It's going to be where Hunter's mid start to pop off again. We saw a little bit of Neath, but realistically, Neath has only been played so far by the Valkyries in mid lane. Shinto just had a whale of a time playing throughout this game, and a lot of damage that was able to come through, stealing 1 triple kill, but earns a quadra kill the right way. I just think the range damage was a lot to handle. I mean, an 8.5 KD, but it's the 18.5k damage that I think is what matters the most here. It felt like there was nothing they could do to get back there. A couple of times there was some pressure from the Susanoo, but they were really good at handling Sam when he got into the back line and slowing down what the Susanoo could do, and then it just felt like it was either Panatom, it was either Shinto, or Zapman with a really big ult that slowed down and set up the rest of the kills for the Leviathans.
Look, I mean, we thought it was going to be Sobek support, Hades solo. Maybe it should have been. This Hades support for PBM did not look good at all, was really not able to get anything done on this pick. And the Dragons, after a close Game 1, get nearly blanked in Game 2. Hurrowin, the only member to find a kill.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Not where you want to be. Yeah, there were a lot of moments where Mike tried to go in, tried to set things up. I think Mifflin had called it out. Wants to live long enough, not be CC'd so heavily, just to get an ult out. Whether, like, even if that's all you're able to do. I mean, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but, like, the prots you get from your ult as Hades should then let you live long enough to get for something your done. hardcore. I mean, maybe. I don't know if it's a worthwhile trade. It's definitely going to be an interesting transition here for the Dragons, because everything they've been banning up to this point has been very, very high priority. The biggest change, once again, I think I could say, is this first pick. Last time, at least in Game 1, we're talking about a Terra, and that is a little more difficult to try and, transcend beyond. and Chick picks anything over. Unless, we talked about it, what, Geb is available realistically is maybe somebody that you grab over that. Cthulhu right now is someone that you can grab over that. But they grabbed Soul. I think that, admittedly, while it did get the only kill on the team, that's something you could easily bump down to 2, number 3, even number 4 or 5.
Yeah, maybe not the greatest prioritization there from the Dragons. So the Leviathans did ban it in Game 1, so you probably needed to top 3 it, but
yeah,
letting that RDO go through will not be allowed this time, though, as the Dragons have banned Yamoja and RDO. Still sticking with the Odin Geb bans on the other side for the Leviathans. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're on the Chaos side, and the Leviathans sitting pretty at 2-0, now forcing the Jade Dragon to try and run a reverse sweep in this set. So the Dragons have changed their third ban each time. It has been Serket and Hell, and this time it will be Hell, which leaves open Cthulhu, potentially, if the Leviathans don't take it away.
I have to assume that if either this is a Terra ban once again for the Leviathans, and the Dragons immediately scoop up Cthulhu, or it's a Cthulhu ban for the Leviathans, and the Dragons probably then immediately scoop up the Terra. I think either way you're going to be happy with it. Sylvanas was another one that was top 2'd, but with Hell and RDO gone, you start slicing a little bit away from each of the Leviathans' top 2 picks overall. I think Camazotz is still an easy and adaptable first pick for you, so it's not necessarily something you need to worry about. And Oleron, we had talked about this, has plenty of natural counters out in the world that you probably don't scoop them up immediately. This is admittedly a little surprising to me.
Sylvanas first overall here for the Jade Dragons, so not giving Mike the opportunity to talk them into playing Hades. They go the Sylvanas, but Yarkor just keeps getting these priority picks passed up over him, and he's happy to take them.
Remember last game where we were saying, hey, maybe we need to deal with this RDO, and I said, do you really want him to have Cthulhu? No. That might be worse for you, honestly. I think we're starting to enter that world. That being said, Cthulhu has definitely started to showcase that there are counters to it. It is not the easiest thing to do, and your draft has to be heavily built on kill Cthulhu, hope for the best with the rest. But I do think it's possible. I mean, Sam loves to play Nemesis. You have seen, what was it, yesterday, Kali was getting picked up. Yep. Chin size, anyone that can utilize that. Bakasura, I think, can even be thrown into that conversation as someone who could potentially burn it down. Kali a little bit better just because of the knock-up immunity, things like that. And so there's a lot of things that exist as a counter to this Cthulhu. But you have to build a lot of a draft around it. And we saw the Scarabs do it a couple of times. And specifically, the Kali, the Iza, and the Charybdis. They had the double hunter that really opened things up for them.
Looking back at yesterday's set with that Cthulhu, I believe it went 0-3 in those games. So was not particularly good in that set yesterday between the Oni Warriors and the Solar Scarabs, but we'll see how the Leviathans can perform on it this time around. It's Camazotz yet again for Penetom, who looked phenomenal on this pick last game. Just impossible to peel him away. He's going to get his damage off, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
In fact, now that I'm looking at it, 0-4, 0-5, I think, for the week. 1-5 for the week for the Cthulhu, at least from the 2 sets that I'm looking at immediately. Then there's a 6th loss. Yeah, he hadn't been doing a whole lot overall. No. The only team that's won with him that I can see immediately is the Leviathans, the very first one, but they also had a Hell, a Terra, Heimdall, and Camazotz beside it. So it seems to make sense. Everybody else seems to have been able to deal with it a little bit more. So maybe while it feels oppressive and powerful, teams have definitely gotten into a better spot of dealing with it. It's still not something I readily give up, I think, to the Leviathans, but knowing that they have that plus a Camazotz is a little more eye-opening. Maybe still worrisome for the team fights just based on what Penetom was able to do. But Ullr's already a good start, I think, in helping deal with it. I think Oleron falls into that category as well, so Cthulhu is going to have a little bit more of a struggle. That being said, Camazotz and Cthulhu also have great ults for dealing with Oleron.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of pick Oleron into 2 gods that deal with him pretty well. I mean, you don't have we talk about Chin Size and Soul Reaver being the easiest answers to this Cthulhu, and you don't build Chin Size nor Soul Reaver on Ullr or Oleron, and now you get the Morrigan here for Shinto, so you get the option to have 2 different Cthulhu ultimates in the course of the team fight, and I'm not sure the Jade Dragons are equipped to handle 1.
Yeah, that's the that's the dilemma, isn't it? This is the combo that has been, I don't want to say plaguing the league, but it does feel like a plague when you're playing against it. It is very, very devastating and can cause a lot of trouble for you. And it's only to be said, like you said, 2 Cthulhus in a late game team fight, but also now you have the potential for 2 Camazotz. But no matter what, you have 3 people on your team that are more than capable of running down this Ola run, assuming Morgan has the ult, which makes it much more dangerous for Panda Cat or Hurwind, whoever ends up piloting this. Hurry played it earlier, so it makes sense that it might be shifted over to him. That's a lot of pressure to try and withstand, and I don't know if you have enough to deal with it just yet.
Couple of warrior bans by the Leviathans covering their jungle and solo bases with Nike and Gilgamesh, two gods that can flex to either role. And then it's Serket and Hachiman banned away by the Jade Dragons. That leaves open a pick that Rongyu used to great effectiveness up against the Olarun in game 1 of this set, which is the Xing Chen getting that auto attack damage reduction on that Furious Roar. And oh yeah, scaling away a Fire Giant too tended to help, but I thought the Xing Chen was very effective in game 1 of this set. A little surprised the Dragons let it through.
And you know what? The things we were talking about, it actually matches up really well. What was causing Cthulhu a lot of trouble yesterday? It is these chin-size auto attackers that are beating him down while he's in his ult and not caring about how tanky he is. Who better to help stop that than Xing Chen, who just says, no, you can't deal as much damage to him. And I think this is going to open up a lot of conversation. Now, if they lock this in, this Hu Yi, it is either fantastic because he has great boxing potential and has a lot, or it's awful because his win rate has now gravitated to 6%, making it even worse than it was before.
Smith. Game 1 was so close, so back and forth, a little bit of everything. And vintage Leviathans, I think, in game number 2, close early game, balloons out, and the Leviathans just kind of dominate the Dragons in the late game team fights in game 2. Could be a similar mindset here. Look, you've got Cthulhu, you've got Morrigan. And the desk expressed some concern at the Jade Dragons' ability to deal with those two.
Yeah, I've got to echo that concern as well. Not only do you have Morrigan, but you have Morrigan and Cthulhu together, which is just gross. But also, Xing Chen's got a great counter matchup into a double auto attack composition to Hunters on the side of the Jade Dragon, so that auto attack mitigation from Ferocious Roar going to deal a lot of a blow to the DPS of the Jade Dragons. Panatom as well has some decent targets for himself. Hurrywind in particular essentially can't peel off a Camazotz. Sanctified Field does not work against Bat Out of Hell. Sanford Soccer, I think, has a lot of weight to carry. Fear No Evil might be single-handedly the most important cooldown on the Jade Dragons. That's with Sanctified Field existing.
Yeah.
If he's able to close gap on a Shinto pre-transformation, that's one way in. But if Shinto's the one hunting in these late game fights, as a nice, very nice ricochet drops Panda Cat down to 50% HP, Shinto could just one-shot Hurrywind before he's able to drop his ultimate. There's a lot of nuance to how these engagements can go.
Yeah, got to be a comeback game for Sanford Soccer here. The Susano an opportunity to sort of play a lone wolf, get some big damage numbers, some kills later on in the game. Fear No Evil, a bit of a different look. That's team setup here, and Sanford Soccer has got to do so for the rest of the squad. Leviathans, if they have their way, they'll get first blood here on the right side. It's fine, okay, push to the wayside. Beads get used. Meyer sends him right back the other way. It's a zoning ability from Hardcore. And that's Sanford Soccer leaping back in, but fine, okay, you can't really re-engage. Sanford Soccer will go back in. It's a dash through from Hardcore. And now suddenly Sanford Soccer might be on the menu for first blood. In fact, he is. Hardcore gets first blood, stun from Fine OK, no good, and Sam ends up falling instead of his solo laner.
Shinto on the other side takes a 2v1 up against Hurrywind and PBM, but the rest of the Leviathans are here shortly. Rongyu, he's got Hurrywind isolated.
And Hurrywind is on the wrong side of the map. He's between the Leviathans Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower, to put this into context for you. And so this is going to be a chase down from the Leviathans. The body blocks just delaying things here, Mifflin. Panatom is around the other side of this Ola run as well. Stun through, beads out, down goes Hurrywind, and the Leviathans, 3 minutes into game 2, have already gotten a couple of kills. One on the jungler, one on the mid laners. That man nearly made it 3. Get some good damage onto Panda Cat.
Get out of dodge just for the threat of that Camazotz. Leviathans, they're playing with house money right now. 4 minutes in, it's been a slower pace set for both of these teams so far, but one has a pretty massive lead. I'm expecting to leverage that somewhere. The Chaos team can look towards some red buff invades, or maybe just a dive.
Dive onto Hurrywind. Beads down for 30 seconds. Sanctified Field drapes across the mid lane. And that is simple for the Atlantis Leviathans, and that is great playing around the cooldowns of the Jade Dragons mid laner there. Not much Hurrywind could do about that. You're under your Tier 1 tower.
Similar to the Jade Dragons, they've expanded their playstyle, and they can certainly push a lead like this.
Root, but no pull onto Zapman That's been such a treat to watch, hasn't it? Even though this set is far from going the Jade Dragons' way. You know, such a growing period in between Season 7 and where we are now for the Jade Dragons in that roster, the Leviathans in this roster. Mike is dead here, you would assume. And yes, Mike does end up going down, so that's the 4th kill of the game for the Leviathans. No Gold Fury here, luckily, but the Scorpion is there. And so the Gold Fury will be up shortly.
Massive. Just ticks over to level 8, so it's only about a level separating these two guys. Maybe more so important is the gold as of right now. The Jade Dragons, they've got to find something on the map.
Could be a fight here. 4 collapsing on 4. Hurrywind is around the back. This might be our first look at Double Cthulhu and how it doesn't care about Sanctified Field. Hurrywind's got it. Rongyu uses his ultimate. Blink forward from Sanford Soccer. Fear no evil onto Shinto, who immediately answers with his beast. But Rongyu, he's been melted down. Panda Cat is able to grab the first kill of the fight, but Shinto immediately answers back. Parkour in the descending to madness, walks away from the front of this fight. Panda Cat from range has got a double. Sometimes all you need is the Uller to get in the fight, and the Jade Dragons show some signs of life here, but Zapman was not a part of the fight. And that is why the Jade Dragons come out ahead for the time being. Zapman rotates through, makes it an even 2 for 2.
6-2 is where the slash
She
line
gonna go
lies
in?
now.
She gonna go
2,000
in?
separated. Panda Cat's completely oop.
Panda Cat's got no mana. He can't jump away. He's got no chance. Shinto on a 4-kill streak here. Zapman with the read. And the red buff was not worth it there for Panda Cat to get.
Puts himself slightly ahead of Panatom. But we're not worried about Panatom and Sanford Soccer. It's the mid.
It's the 2-level lead, right?
It's the Cthulhu, man. This is tough stuff. The team fight of Leviathans is so strong.
Rongyu takes some damage here. But so does Sanford Soccer. About the same amount that Rongyu had ended up taking there. And so you look for these next couple ultimates to come back off of cooldown. That's where the Leviathans have found their engages. Sam found what you would think is a priority target with the Fear No Evil in the last fight in Shinto. But Shinto just immediately uses the beads and kites his way backwards. There's a big rotation in from Panda Cat, and that might need to be the story moving forward. Big double root from Rongyu. Polar Bear Mike sends his ultimate out. Bat out of hell, answered by the Fear No Evil. Shinto backs away, doesn't get the stun, and Sanford Soccer will snag the kill. Panatom run down as well, and Sam will live. Hurrywind kites back, drops to Sanctified Field. And as the first big winning fight of the game so far for the Jade Dragons, a nice swoop upwards in both gold and XP. Small win for the Dragons. That goes, maybe you're just going to get this other one for free as well. So the Leviathans pull a little bit of that gold back despite an earlier Jade Dragons fight win. Erendite completed for Sanford Soccer. So that'll be nice. Once that Fear No Evil goes down, that's important for Panda Cat to dodge. Panatom is close by. Even despite the dodge, could there still be a dive from Panatom? Bat out of hell. Extend your life a little bit in those fights. Hardcore. Sent into madness used. Sanford Soccer left running. Polar Bear Mike here as well. It's a good leap out from Sanford Soccer. And so ult used, and that's a decent ult to have down. And this one is very important to dodge. Panda Cat jumps on out, but Panatom is around the back. And there was no chance for Panda. Once that jump goes down, his life is essentially forfeit. This is important for the Jade Dragons to confirm. Ooh. I saw that range damage from Shinto fly its way in there, and I saw a very sad group of Jade Dragons for a moment, but the Pyromancer nonetheless will go to the Dragons. A good answer back to your Hunter falling on left. Very much in control. Gold and XP in most aspects going in their favor. And you're just waiting for that big team fight where, you know, this double Cthulhu, Bat out of hell, Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, disengage from Zapman can mitigate the Sanctified Field in mid.
Good lord.
And yeah, that's why. There's the example of it. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel just walks in, and Hurrywind's both of his actives were down. There was nothing he could do. And the Leviathans make the mid laner pay. Zapman has used his beads on the left because Fear No Evil has gone down. Sanford Soccer has the mark on him, but he will walk away. And that is a big team fight ultimate to send out for Sam with nothing to show for it.
The thought process is so clear from Rongyu. Is Hurrywin in front of me? He shouldn't be. Blink, ultimate, every single time. And the Jade Dragons have not figured out the response.
And now you can see maybe the fruits of there being no Fear No Evil for Sanford Soccer. He'll be able to do some damage, but he will not be able to peel out for his Hunter as Yarkor just walks him down. The Leviathan's just walking down the Jade Dragons in every aspect of the game, on the map, in the objectives. There's no Fury on the left, there's no Pyro on right, but there's still a couple camps to take away, some kills to be found. Sam blinks onto Zapman, who immediately uses the Aegis, jumps up, jumps down. Sam, what are you doing taking this fight? Zapman is 2 levels up, and Zapman feeling just fine. Purple buff is here. Aegis gets used. And so maybe Sam feeling okay with the benefits of his dive there, especially if you can delay back Zapman. This is a delayed kill unless Zapman is able to find the damage. Zapman up and over.
Got him.
Oh my god, he did it anyway! Zapman in the 1v1 gets it. The 2v1 tilts the scales. Luckily, Fine OK was there to save just a little bit of face there for the Dragons.
Fortunately for the Dragons, Zapman was a much higher valuable target as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Does not feel like the Jade Dragons' standard game plan. And so here you're thinking it's just Sam. Clearly you know something's up.
The
That's
crits.
1 crit. And then Sam, a little bit of damage there. 2
That
crits.
has to be a crit.
And
Oh.
3 crits. Right.
Exactly
Like for the
once.
CC immunity, he's used it, but I don't think we've seen
yeah, his ult is a beads button
a
right
beads
now.
button right now. Well, he doesn't have beads, so he needs it as a beads button. Fine, okay, we said he needed to be an impact. Not going to be able to do so if you're watching from the death screen. Ultimate already gets used. Tower goes down. It's going to be a long fight, a little bit of a chase here. That's going to buy time for the Jade Dragons to rotate in behind. Should be a kill on Defino nonetheless. Meyer sends him right back the other way in lane, and now it's a killing spree for Panatom, and it took a while, but nobody from the Jade Dragons over here on right. Smith, as if Game 3 goes this way, they end up losing to the Leviathans. You've got that win under the Valkyries, and with the way that Group A has been structured, you know, top 3 teams make it to the Phase 3 playoffs, and once you get there, anything can happen that weekend. And so, you know, you're handing Group A, it feels like, over to the Leviathans, giving them serious control over this group after a win earlier in the weekend, a win over the Jade Dragons, only having Leviathans after, or only having Valkyries after that. But you asked for the Dragons to maybe step up. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Instead, maybe a Phoenix Siege for the Jade Dragons. The most you can get is some map pressure here on the left side of the map. They are doing it quickly. Panatom here, blinks forward. Sanford Soccer jumps out. Pandacat does the last bit of damage. The left side Phoenix gone. PBM uses his ultimate to force out some ults from the Atlantis Leviathans, but Pandacat is run down. Fire Giant in the meantime secured by the Atlantis Leviathans. But what's the cost? Nearly a body block onto Fine OK's ultimate, but it's a chase down in mid. It's a chase down on the other end of mid. Shinto gets PBM. Fine OK tossed back. Fine OK gets the stun, and eventually the Leviathans will get this kill. So you get a left side Phoenix, but you lose FG, and you lose 3.
The swan song of the Jade Dragons does net them a win condition. The Titan now exposed from the Leviathans, but at a hefty cost. 50 seconds left on your solo lane, or 30 on both members of the dual lane. The Jade Dragons, without a defense, just have to watch as the Leviathans strip away a tier 2 and continue their march forward. Significant cooldowns still available. Yarkor still can descend into madness.
Seems like we are waltzing our way to a 3-0 here. The Atlantis Leviathans can take this one casually. There's only 2 members defending, and if you can even call it that. The Jade Dragons will just have to watch as their Phoenixes go down.
Good old.
Although Sanford Soccer wants to engage, but
He's
he
dead.
engaged alone. On to 5. It was a great Fear No Evil, but he had nobody at his back.
Oh, he's living.
Hardcore walking forward. Sanford Soccer does live. Right side Phoenix gone. 3-man knockup from Hardcore. Panatom on a rampage. Sanctified Field does not do much. Panatom, he's got a double. Zapman adds one as well. The Atlantis Leviathans, they will sweep the Jade Dragons. 3 straight games, 2 of them not close at all. A triple kill for Panatom will seal the deal, and the Leviathans take a 3-0 win.
The Leviathans living up to their namesake,
Another
a
quad?
great
Nope.
beast in the ocean that cannot be stepped to. The team fight looks good. The early game looks good. Composition strong as well. This team, they're primed and ready, man. They are looking incredible.
Taken
This
a
one-
game off of the Leviathans in a set since Phase 1. Leviathans 2-0'd them way back then, but otherwise it's always gone at least a little further. This one just felt like it got a little out of hand. Early on, there's a lot of control immediately on the right-hand side. Hardcore gets a good first blood, starts things off like that. Then it starts to turn into a much more interesting conversation. The Dragons keep it a little more trepidatious. I think it was, you know, at 1.4-4. Unfortunately for them, most of the fights after those few early skirmishes just did not fare their way. It was too much to handle. I mean, we were talking about it before. The team fight for the Leviathans just looked too solid. And unfortunately for the Dragons, they did a whole lot of team fight throughout this game.
Yeah, Leviathans dominated in basically every facet. I really feel like this game in particular, the drafting, or this set rather, the drafting did not look very good for the Dragons.
Yeah. That's an easy statement to make. I think when we saw Mike load in, like, so the Hades support wasn't necessarily... we saw him do it once before.
Yeah.
But maybe ill-advised. It definitely didn't do, I think, what they wanted it to do. But again, I think a lot of it was, you know, a little bit of shaky foundation, try something. In Game 2, I'm not necessarily against that. But when you look at what the Leviathans were drafting, things just got better and better for them. You know, solo lane jungle looked really, really good. You got to see, first off, another win for Hu Yi as well in this one. I think everything really starts to stack up. The team fights just look much better, and the way that they were able to counter out what the Dragons were locking in as well started from minute 0 and then got to actually be exemplified there in the games.
I mean, Zap and Shinto both did more damage than Hurry and we've got going on for the rest of the week. It's the Bolts and the Scarabs. They are in studio. They are ready to go. And you are in for a treat when you see this set, because the players are here in studio. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be fun.
I'll give something away.
Okay, go ahead.
Barra's dressed as a Bolts fan.
Yeah, Barra did not get the memo. Let's put it that way.
Barra
not only did Barra not come in,
he's got the Bolts joggers and he's ready to go.
And he went to shop.smiteproleague.com in order to get those, of course. A big game here for the Scarabs and a big game for the Bolts, because you really can't afford to go down 0-2. That puts a ton of pressure on you. I do not think they want to put themselves in that position.
Yeah, then it starts to, if the Bolts, having already played the Titans, if they lose to the Scarabs here, then everything is on their set versus the Warriors.